Sebastian's voice was low and menacing. Beyond the balcony of his La Jolla home, the boundless Pacific Ocean stretched out, indifferent, like a blue oil painting. Couldn't she just leave me those damn paintings and a bottle of scotch? Find a bride within 24 hours, or her entire eccentric art collection, my aunt's, will fall into the hands of that greedy weasel named Reginald Croft, was the ultimatum. Mr. Finch, the family lawyer with a perpetually grim expression, merely sipped delicately from his now cold Earl Grey tea, confirming the terms just read from the late Aunt Agatha's will. The will was even stranger than her eccentric habits in life. Outside, the bright San Diego May sun shone, and the rhythmic crash of waves seemed to mock the desperation churning in the soul of the 35-year-old real estate magnate. A man accustomed to buying and selling skyscrapers, now forced to find a wife in less than 24 hours. His rival in this invisible race was none other than Reginald Croft, a distant English cousin whom Sebastian despised to his core. The bright San Diego May morning sun filtered through the enormous glass windows of the modern clifftop mansion in La Jolla, but Sebastian Sepcroft, a 35-year-old real estate millionaire and venture capitalist, felt neither its warmth nor the beauty of the azure Pacific Ocean before him. He drank his usual morning black coffee without sugar, but its bitterness seemed particularly harsh today. The call from Mr. Alistair Finch, the long-standing family lawyer, had ended only minutes ago, leaving Sebastian in a state of utter disbelief and intense irritation. His Aunt Agatha, the only remaining relative with whom he had any connection, albeit distant, and mostly through formal Christmas cards, had passed away at the age of 92. And she, with her characteristic eccentricity as a lifelong reclusive millionaire, had left behind a will that could not have been stranger. The doorbell rang. Mr. Finch, a man in his 60s with neatly combed silver hair and a classic gray suit, entered with his usual solemn expression. He wasted no time on formal condolences. "Mr. Sepp," Mr. Finch began, setting his old leather briefcase on the modern glass table, "I am here to officially inform you of the terms of Mrs. Agatha Croft's will. A significant portion of her personal assets will be bequeathed to marine animal conservation organizations, according to her wishes. However," he paused, looking directly into Sepp's eyes, "there is a very substantial part of the inheritance, the Croft Art Fund, valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, as well as her entire priceless personal art collection, that will be bequeathed to you on one single immutable condition." Sebastian raised an eyebrow, feeling a premonition creep in. And Agatha always loved drama. "You, Sebastian Croft, must be officially married within 24 hours of the official announcement of this will. That's from this moment." He glanced at his gold watch. "If you fail to meet this condition, the entire charity and art collection will automatically pass into the control of Mr. Reginald Croft, your distant cousin from England." Sepp was stunned. 24 hours to marry? Had he heard correctly? Reginald Croft, that pompous, greedy relative he had hated since childhood. A man whom even Aunt Agatha had never particularly liked. The old woman certainly knew how to make a dramatic exit, he thought. The Croft Art Fund was her life's passion, a repository of art she cherished, and she had hinted that she wanted Sepp to take it over and develop it according to her vision. But with such a condition. He glanced at the wall clock. 10 a.m. Time was slipping away like sand through his fingers. Find a wife in 24 hours in a city as large as San Diego? What the hell is happening in my life? Despair, panic, and a flash of anger overwhelmed the man who prided himself on always being in control. He couldn't let his aunt's legacy, the valuable art collection, fall into Reginald's hands. Sepp didn't have a second to think. He couldn't just call any woman from his list of exes or potential high society partners. They would think he was crazy, or worse, try to exploit the situation with unreasonable demands. He needed an immediate solution, someone simple who would agree to a fake marriage and then disappear just as quickly after all legal formalities were settled. He burst out of the mansion, jumped into his silver-gray Aston Martin DB1, and drove aimlessly out of the prestigious La Jolla area. Crazy plans swirled in his head. He had to find someone, anyone, right now. The car glided through palm-lined streets, heading downtown. He turned into Balboa Park, a green oasis in the heart of San Diego where he often went alone to think. Perhaps amidst this peaceful nature he would find inspiration or a solution. He parked and entered the park, looking around absently. Couples walked hand in hand, families played on the grass, tourists admired the historic Spanish architecture. None of them could help him. Passing by the Alcazar garden with its gurgling fountains and vibrant flower beds, he suddenly stopped. In the shade of an ancient jacaranda tree, covered in purple blossoms, sat a young woman on a small folding chair, her back to him. Her long brown hair fell over her shoulders. She was engrossed in painting, gently moving her brush across a small canvas on a portable easel. Around her lay several finished watercolor works, mostly San Diego seascapes and wildflowers, rendered in a rustic, delicate, and expressive style. In utter desperation, a crazy, almost hopeless idea flashed in Sep's mind. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his wildly beating heart, and walked up to her. "Excuse me, miss," he said, his voice trembling slightly. The woman startled and turned around. She had a delicate, kind face, with large, clear blue-gray eyes and a soft smile tinged with surprise. She wore a simple floral maxi dress and flat sandals, without makeup, but exuded a natural beauty and strange tranquility that sharply contrasted with the chaos in Sep's soul. Behind her clear eyes lay a quiet sadness, but the smile she gave him was sincere and warm. "Hello," she replied softly. "How can I help you?" Sebastian Croft stumbled, feeling ridiculous. "I have a very urgent proposition, and it might seem strange, but would you like to earn $5,000 today?" The woman's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise and caution in them. $5,000? For what? Sep took another breath and decided to be direct. There was no time for subtlety. He briefly explained the complex family legal issue that urgently required him to get married today. He didn't go into details about the will or the vast fortune, only emphasized that it was an emergency, and he needed someone who would agree to a temporary, fictitious marriage, after which they would quickly divorce. "I'll pay you $5,000 cash right now, and another $5,000 after the divorce is finalized. Everything will be completely legal and confidential." The woman stared at him, trying to process what she heard. A millionaire suddenly appearing and offering a large sum of money just to stage a one-day marriage. It was like a Hollywood movie script, she thought, that he was crazy or had some sinister motive. "Mr. Croft," she said, her voice still polite, but with a hint of distance. "I don't know what trouble you're in, but I don't think I'm the right person for this. I'm just an ordinary artist." "I know it sounds unbelievable," Sep pleaded, his voice growing more insistent, "but I'm truly in a desperate situation. I have very little time. Please help me. I promise it won't cause you any problems." He saw the doubt in her eyes. "You can spend the money on anything, maybe travel or art supplies." The woman remained silent for a long moment, her gaze fixed on the sea. It seemed she was contemplating something very important. Then she suddenly turned to Sep, a strange determination in her eyes. "All right, Mr. Croft," she said, her voice no longer surprised or wary, but instead possessing an extraordinary calmness. "I accept your offer." Sep exhaled in relief, as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted from him. Thank you so much. What's your name?" "Ora Hayes," she replied, a sad smile flickering on her lips. "And I have one small request. The money you pay me, I'd like to donate to the nearby orphanage that I often visit and help at. Could you help me with that?" Sep was surprised by her request. A woman selling paintings on the street wanted to use such a large sum for charity? This girl was truly special. "Of course, Miss Hayes. I'd be happy to help." And so, right there in Balboa Park, a one-day marriage agreement was struck between a desperate millionaire and a mysterious artist who seemed to have nothing left but the desire for one unexpected last adventure in her life. Sep and Ora rushed to the San Diego City Hall like a whirlwind. Mr. Finch had already prepared all the necessary documents. The marriage registration process was quick, almost farcical. Only Sepp, Aura in her simple floral dress, and Mr. Finch as a witness were present. There were no vows, no real wedding rings. Mr. Finch provided them with a pair of simple gold bands to complete the formalities. No romance, just signatures on a legal document making them husband and wife in the eyes of the law. As the registrar handed them a copy of the marriage certificate, officially confirming their union, Sepp felt a fleeting sense of relief. He had done it. He had met Aunt Agatha's condition. But when he turned to Aura to thank her and discuss the divorce as soon as possible, he was shocked to see her face go pale, her eyes close, and her body sway slightly as if she were about to fall. "Miss Hayes, Aura, are you all right?" Sepp exclaimed, catching her. Aura opened her eyes, trying to offer a weak smile. "I'm fine, just a little dizzy." She coughed several times, a long and seemingly exhausting cough, then quickly rummaged in her small bag, pulled out a small bottle of pills, poured a few into her palm, and swallowed them hastily with the remaining water in the bottle. Sepp looked at her with genuine concern. Her pallor and unusual fatigue didn't seem like just a mild dizziness. "Are you sure you're all right? Maybe I should take you to the hospital?" Aura shook her head. "No, Mr. Croft, just a little tired, probably stress." She hesitated for a moment, then looked directly into his eyes. A deep sadness shone in her blue-gray gaze. "Actually, there's something I haven't told you."
She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself.
"I'm sick, terminally ill. The doctor said I don't have much time left, maybe only about a month."
Aura's confession struck Sepp like a lightning bolt. He froze, unable to believe what he heard. The woman he had just married, his one-day wife, the person he intended to use merely as a tool to achieve his goal, was dying. A terrible sense of guilt, an unspeakable shock, and an unfamiliar searing pain suddenly pierced his usually cold heart. What had he done? He had dragged someone on the brink of death into his selfish scheme. After the initial shock, Sepp's mind went completely blank. He looked at Aura, the small woman before him with an astonishingly calm expression on her face, speaking of her inevitable death, and felt an unprecedented inner turmoil.
He was accustomed to controlling everything, from multi-million-dollar deals to fleeting relationships, but this situation went beyond all his calculations and expectations. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he stammered. Aura shrugged slightly, a sad smile playing on her lips. "What's the point, sir? So you'd pity me, or so you'd withdraw your offer? I have nothing to lose anyway, and that $5,000 will greatly help the orphanage I love. Consider it the last good deed I can do." Her composure and altruism made Sepp feel even more guilty and ashamed. He had treated her like a commodity, a tool, while she embraced the horror of life with such resignation and unexpected kindness. They left City Hall in silence. Mr. Finch, who had witnessed everything, also remained quiet, driving them back to Sepp's mansion in La Jolla. The atmosphere in the luxurious car grew heavy, almost suffocating. Back at the mansion, Sepp seated Aura in the living room. He poured her a glass of water and himself a strong whiskey. He sat across from the woman who had just become his wife and had only a month left to live. A sudden decision, not part of his initial plans, formed in his mind. "Aura!" he began, his voice wavering slightly but firm. "I know what I'm about to say might surprise you, but I'm not going to file for divorce immediately. At least not yet." Aura looked at him, her eyes slightly surprised. "I was wrong to involve you in this," Sepp continued, his voice filled with remorse. "I was too selfish, thinking only of myself, not considering the feelings of others. I can't change what happened, and I can't cure your illness, but I want to make amends, even if only a little. I want to make this last month of your life as meaningful and happy as possible." He looked directly into her eyes, his gaze sincere. "Consider this another part of our agreement. This is no longer a fictitious marriage for money. This is a month of life to experience, to do everything you want before it's too late. I'll be there as a friend, or as you wish, and that money, of course, is still yours for your orphanage wish." Aura looked at him, her blue-gray eyes wide with tears. She had never expected this cold, pragmatic man to say such words. She had braced herself for his indifference, even contempt, once he achieved his goal, but this was completely unexpected. She was silent for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Croft. Thank you very much." She didn't want to die alone and forgotten. Having a companion by her side in her final days, even a stranger she had just met, was an enormous comfort. And so, their one-day marriage unexpectedly transformed into a one-month agreement, filled with meaning and tragedy. Sepp suspended all his company affairs, entrusting everything to Mr. Finch and his trusted partners. He devoted all his time to Aura, asking her what she wanted to do, where to go. Aura, initially a little shy, soon opened up to Sepp's sincerity and patience. She spoke of her dream of seeing migrating whales off the Pacific coast, strolling through the vibrant ranunculus fields in Carlsbad, having a romantic candlelit dinner at a restaurant overlooking the sea, and, most importantly, finishing her last painting, a sunrise over the ocean, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. Sepp listened to it all and was determined to fulfill her every wish. The following days flew by in a whirlwind of unforgettable experiences. He rented a private yacht to take Aura whale watching. They were fortunate to see an entire pod of giant humpback whales migrating in the distance. Their breaches created a majestic and moving spectacle. Aura wept with joy. He took her to the ranunculus fields in Carlsbad, where millions of flowers of all colors stretched as far as the eye could see, like a giant carpet. Aura sat there for hours, painting rapturously, trying to capture nature's vibrant beauty on her canvases. They dined together at San Diego's most romantic restaurants, enjoying delicious food, exquisite wine, and endless conversations about everything under the sun. Sepp discovered an incredibly intelligent, witty Aura with a rich artistic soul and a profound perspective on life. She told him about the books she had read, her favorite music, her unfulfilled dreams. In turn, Aura began to see a completely different Sebastian Croft, not the eccentric, selfish, and somewhat heartless millionaire she initially thought him to be, but a warm, caring man with a kind heart hidden beneath a cold and detached exterior. He listened patiently to her, shared his thoughts, and always tried to make her happy. Love blossomed between them, naturally and irresistibly, a beautiful, fragile, yet incredibly strong love that ignited in the shadow of impending death. They knew their time was short, so they cherished every moment together. But their brief happiness was not meant to last. Reginald Croft, Sepp's greedy cousin, upon learning that Sepp had suddenly married an unknown woman just hours before the will's deadline, suspected foul play. He began an investigation and quickly discovered Aura's terminal illness. Reginald rejoiced, seeing it as a golden opportunity to expose the fictitious marriage. He thought Sepp had intentionally married a dying woman to easily inherit the fortune after her death, and then quickly divorce or annul the marriage. Reginald confronted Sepp at the mansion and threatened to expose everything to the press and the Croft Foundation board members if Sepp didn't agree to share a large portion of the inheritance. But Sepp no longer cared about money or assets. All he wanted was for Aura's last days to be peaceful and happy. He looked Reginald directly in the eyes, his voice cold and steely. "You won't get a cent from me, Reginald, and if you dare disturb Aura, I swear I'll make you regret it." With the help of Mr. Finch and Izzy Dubois, a kind hospice nurse whom Sepp hired to care for Aura and who became her only close friend, Sepp gathered enough evidence of Reginald's past misdeeds and malicious intentions regarding the family assets. He used this evidence to silence Reginald and make him abandon his plans. The month flew by like a dream. Aura's health visibly deteriorated, her pain became more frequent, her coughing fits longer, but she still tried to smile, to appear strong and not worry Sepp. Sepp was always by her side, holding her hand, attending to her every wish, reading to her, telling her funny stories. They cherished every second, every minute together, knowing it might be their last. Aura still managed to finish her last painting, a sunrise over the ocean with bright golden rays breaking through the clouds, symbolizing hope, life, and their undying love. She painted with all her heart, with all her love and gratitude to Sepp, the man who had given her the most beautiful and meaningful last month of her life. One evening in June, as the last rays of sunset painted the sky gold over the Pacific Ocean, Aura lay in Sep's arms on the balcony lounge area, gazing at the sea. Her breathing grew weaker. "Sep," she whispered, her voice as fragile as a passing breeze. "Thank you for everything, for giving me a month to love and be loved." "Don't say that, Aura." Sep embraced her tightly, tears streaming down his face. "You'll get better. Everything will be fine." Aura shook her head, a calm smile playing on her pale lips. "I know my time is up, but I have no regrets." With a weak hand, she touched his cheek. "Promise me you'll live well, that you'll fulfill my unfinished dreams, help the children at the orphanage, and never forget me." "I promise, Aura, I promise," Sep choked out. Aura smiled one last time, her blue-gray eyes filled with love for him. Then she slowly closed her eyes and peacefully took her last breath in the arms of the man she loved. Sep held Aura's cooling body, his heart shattered. He cried like a child. The pain of loss was too great to bear. He loved her with all his heart, but their time was too short, too fragile. After Aura's death, Sep plunged into grief and despair. He locked himself in the mansion, refusing to see anyone, not even Mr. Finch or Izzy. He felt his life had lost all meaning. The priceless art collection, the multi-million-dollar charity fund, everything seemed meaningless now. The only things he kept were Aura's paintings, especially her last work, Sunrise Over the Sea, which she had painted for him. But the promises made to Aura echoed in his head. He couldn't break down. He had to live on, live a more meaningful life to fulfill her wish. With the help and support of Mr. Finch and Izzy, Sep gradually recovered. He officially took over the Croft Art Fund and Aunt Agatha's collection. But he was not just an heir. He decided to change the fund's mission, as he had promised Aura. He established the Aura Hayes Art Fund within the Croft Foundation to support talented young artists from underprivileged families in San Diego and across America. He directed a large portion of the inheritance to fund public art projects, free art classes for underprivileged children, and especially the orphanage that Aura loved so much. He kept the La Jolla mansion, but transformed part of it into a small memorial dedicated to Aura, where all her paintings and mementos from their short but love-filled month were displayed. It became a quiet sanctuary, a place he could return to when he missed her. Reginald Croft, after his failed attempt to seize the inheritance, was forced to accept reality. He no longer dared to trouble Sep, given Sep's determination and the irrefutable evidence Mr. Finch possessed. Sebastian Croft was no longer the eccentric, selfish, and reclusive millionaire he once was. He became calmer, kinder, and found true joy in helping others, in spreading a love for art and the good values that Aura had inspired in him. He learned to cherish every moment of life, knowing that life is fragile and love is the most precious gift. A year after Aura's death, the first exhibition of the Aura Hayes Art Fund was held at a large art gallery in downtown San Diego. Hundreds of works by talented young artists from across the country were featured. The space was filled with light, color, and hope. Sebastian Croft, in a simple dark suit, stood in a corner of the hall, quietly observing the crowd. His former cold and detached demeanor had vanished. His eyes were warmer, his smile softer. He saw Aura's last painting for him, the radiant sunrise over the sea, hanging in the most prominent spot, like a beacon guiding young talent. He smiled a peaceful, slightly melancholic smile, but no longer one of despair. Izzy Dubois, Aura's close friend, and now an active member of the fund, approached him. "Aura would be so proud of you, Sep," she said softly. Sep nodded. "I know. Even though I only had a short month with her, Aura taught me what true love is, what it means to live a meaningful life. Our love, despite its sad ending, changed my life forever." Sep and Aura's story didn't end with a traditional happy wedding with children and a home full of laughter, but it gave its own profound, happy ending. Sep found a new purpose in life, found peace in his soul through the love and spiritual legacy Aura left behind. That day, after the exhibition ended, Sepp drove alone to Coronado Beach, where he and Aura had once watched the sunset together. He stood, watching the sun slowly dip below the horizon, painting the sky crimson. In his hand, he held a small, light purple daisy, similar to those Aura often painted. He smiled a peaceful smile. He knew that even though Aura was no longer physically beside him, their love would live forever in his heart, in the good deeds he performed, in every sunrise, and in every wave that washed upon the shore. A month of love. A short month, but enough to change an entire life. Enough to write an immortal love story, and perhaps it was fate's unique way of granting fulfillment. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like it and share it with your friends.